So this is a remake of the 1989 classic, which originally starred Patrick Swayze as martial arts expert, bouncer slash
Dalton.
philosopher who right, Dalton, who in the 1989 version he's hired to kind of get control of this bar out in Missouri, and he comes in, he whoops ass, he philosophizes, he gets the girl, he punches the bad guys. It's a great 80s classic. Used to come on TV all the time. It's now been remade by director Doug Liman, who did things like The Bourne Identity and Edge of Tomorrow, starring Jake Gyllenhaal as Dalton. And he is an ex MMA fighter. In similar story, he's been hired by Jessica Williams' character to come take control of her rowdy bar out in the Florida Keys and just get it in order, stop the bad guys, teach people a lesson. It's a very 80s plot line, which in a lot of ways doesn't work in modern day, but it's still charming. Jake Gyllenhaal as Dalton, he gets there. He plays this with a very like, hey guys, we don't have to fight. I'm going to put all you guys in the hospital. We don't really want that. Like it's kind of an action comedy in a lot of ways. He's in incredible shape for the role, super ripped. It's a lot of fun. It's got a lot of problems too, but it's not a bad time. I think it works for streaming pretty well. We'll get into the setting, and of course also stars Daniela Melchior, who we know from Guardians of the Galaxy and Suicide Squad, and also introducing Conor McGregor, the ex-MMA fighter, now turned to the screen, who lights it up more than you'd think.
I'm gonna be honest. Roadhouse kind of doesn't work for me. Like it kind of just doesn't. There's ideas here that work.
It worked in '89.
Yeah, like there's ideas here that work, and like looking at Lyman's like track record, like the films he's directed, like obviously I think there's some smart things happening. I think the reason it doesn't work is it just has this devil may care attitude about it that the original one had. In fact, that was part of the spirit of a lot of those old 80s features. They wore silly on their sleeve. They were practically absurdist. Roadhouse, Ghostbusters, Beetlejuice. Like I realize two of these are sci-fi, but they're ridiculous ideas, you know? So the idea of a bouncer essentially just being an all-around badass who can't lose a fight is ridiculous and silly. And I think the movie tries to lean into that in a way that's smart, but ultimately doesn't work. And additionally, the fights all look bad, dude. The fights all look bad, and I can tell you why the fights look bad, but none of the fights look good. And it's distracting to me. Did you have this experience, Andy?
Yeah, some of the fights, they're choreographed not very well. Like they look like punches are thrown real slow.
I can explain why.
There's some weird use of CGI during the fights and some of the other action scenes that look really bad. Amazon did the classic thing that all the streamers do. They shell out a lot of money for the talent and then cut the production budget, and it looks super cheap, DIY kind of movie.
Here's why the fights look bad in Roadhouse. I did some research, some digging for you folks at home. Here's why. Doug Liman, who's worked on all these incredible action features in the past, he worked on Avatar a little bit, or his stunt coordinator did. Somewhere along the way, somebody worked on Avatar with James Cameron, and they came up with this really clever way to do fight scenes in CGI, so Avatar characters could interact with human characters for that film, right? And what they did was a series of passes where they'd shoot the same fight scene 2 or 3 different ways, all with the camera in the same place, the same movements, and they would swap out the fighters or the guy taking the punch for a pillow. So you do one pass where you shoot Jake Gyllenhaal throwing a punch at what's supposed to be Conor McGregor, but really you just have a blue pillow there. And he hits it, and he hits the pillow, looks great. Don't move the camera. You do a second pass where Conor McGregor goes in, and you whack Conor McGregor with a blue pillow. So you got a shot of him getting hit with a blue pillow.
With
you
the
do a third
reaction.
pass.
Oh, okay.
Yes, you do a third pass where you shoot this in slow motion. I think with both guys there. So you have both of them do it and you shoot it in slow-mo and you use that to stitch the CGI. And then you shoot a fourth pass of just the background so you have lighting and backing for it. And they did that with every fight in this movie. And some of them are wildly coordinated because if you watch them, a lot of them are like one takes and stitched together with CGI. Lots of handheld camera movement. Like I can't imagine how complicated this must have been, right? but it doesn't work. The magic doesn't work. Like, it looks bad. It looks fake. People say the fights look like they're CGI, and it's a shame because it's a movie about fighting, and I think they were trying to like push the medium forward that way. It just doesn't. It doesn't land in this one. Maybe that can be perfected. Maybe it could be better. But also, like, it just seems like a really expensive way to film a fist fight. You know what I mean? And like, I just don't know if it. I don't know. I don't think it really works here.
Well, also, again, so in the original, Patrick Swayze is a black belt in karate. So that's the thing. In here, we've updated it to MMA. So I kind of expected to see more MMA style kind of fighting, maybe some stuff on, maybe some ground and pound, maybe some more kicks and stuff. And it's really just a lot of like boxing and kind of dodge a punch, counter punch thing. It's just not, a lot of times you can tell a story through the action, through the fighting. Like, Mike, this character kind of fights this way. This guy fights a little bit different. And it's all just kind of the same. And it's like you got Conor McGregor, the Conor McGregor, MMA champion, now retired since he broke his leg. Here, and you don't give him any ways to like show off his skills or to like show all the training that Jake Gyllenhaal did. And yeah, the action just doesn't really work. I also want to talk about the setting. This bar does not look real. It looks like a Chili's or this. It's never full. It looks like the kind of resort bar that's on a beach. And that's again, the setting was so good in the '89 version where you got this dingy dive bar that for some reason isn't important, but it looks like a real rough place. I mean, this looks like a country club bar that, you know, it would be hard to get into if you weren't paying the fees.
So I've got answers for that too. So they actually came up with the set for the Roadhouse. It apparently was one of the first things in production that they cooked up, and Lyman had his set designer work it up, and they loved it. And they wanted it to be this hard edge, to me, like Michael Bay-esque, almost like Bad Boys 2, like refresh on Roadhouse. So we move it out of Missouri, move it to Florida, right? We move it out of the little shack that the Roadhouse used to be. We put it in this insanely large building. Like, it is a joke the first time it shows up. And maybe it's supposed to be a joke that lands. Maybe it's supposed to be funny, but it isn't. It's presented as like, yeah, it's just fine that there's this huge Roadhouse that has this giant skylight feature thing down the middle of it that like looks so goofy. And Jessica Williams from The Daily Show is the owner, and I like Jessica Williams fine, but she's not given any time to grow her character into anything more than just like a woman who owns what's supposed to be a dive bar, and then Jake Gyllenhaal shows up and it's literally like an Applebee's. It's absurd. Yeah, they could have put a sign that said shenanigans on the side of it. Yeah, like even the way they shoot the interiors look goofy, but that set was all put together in the Dominican Republic, and apparently that thing survived like a full-on hurricane in 2022 while they were shooting. Yeah, so it was a whole thing. There's also a few other places kind of around this drifty Florida sun-washed town. There's a bookshop with a couple of odd characters who have no place in the movie and just pad the runtime out.
Yeah.
I think. I read. I didn't see the original. This is where people on YouTube will go leave a comment like, "You didn't see the original." I read that in the original, there's like a hardware store or like a restaurant or something that he's kind of like defending on the side of working at the bar, and I think this takes the place for that, but doesn't really have a place in the film. There's like maybe one too many villains. And I do want to say regarding the hard edge approach of having UFC and getting Jake Gyllenhaal looking ripped, Conor McGregor is an interesting choice for the movie, who many would say doesn't work, but inversely, I think he almost does. I kind of like his insane,
I dug it,
drug-addled performance, because his character is just walking around like he's on all of the uppers all of the time. And it kind of works. Yeah, like in this, he's 80 yard. His audio's barely in there. It's really bad. But like when he needs to look ripped and mean, like guy shows up looking ripped and mean. And when he gets thrown off a truck and somehow survived, I look at him, I'm like, yeah, that guy would probably survive that. Like, he comes off being like the big bruiser he needs to be. Yes, his performance is weak, but it's like comically weak in a way that carries it over, I think.
Well, he brings the swagger, which is kind of what he was known for in the ring as well in real life. And, he's that kind of classic 80s antagonist to the hero, like you said, the bruiser who's going to take him on. He comes in, he's wild, he's a loose cannon. No one can control him, even the guys who hire him. he's naked half the time inexplicably for a laugh for extended periods.
It's true.
It's not
Lot of
it
Conor
doesn't
McGregor ass. Yeah.
yeah, it doesn't it doesn't it's not as funny as they probably think it's going to be, but he it works for me. When I first saw the trailer, I was like, he's doing like a character of himself and it looks dumb, but then when he on screen, it worked fine. Like he's just crazy enough. He's someone who I think could be like an action side character in more movies, like kind of Expendable style. Like give him some
Yeah.
franchise or some movies to be the lead, shoot guns, beat people up. And he's got a career in Hollywood for sure.
Have him, yeah, give him some weird mutant power and have him fight the X-Men as like a side mutant in like an X-Men
Yeah,
movie. He would totally work. Yeah, like just this big bruiser monster guy. Of course he's
Juggernaut.
bad at
Like,
acting. Like I don't expect him to be good. Like I'm fine with that. Like yeah, I think he ends up okay on it. Like also worth mentioning, Gyllenhaal puts the whole movie on his back. He works really hard at it, and it doesn't really work. He plays this like I've never referenced One Piece on this show, but he really is like this Monkey D. Luffy kind of character, like hapless nice guy who just kind of sails in. He's compared to a Western a lot in the movie. The script is very evident that like it's like a Western. Get it? You know, like yeah, got it. He kind of drifts into town. He's unstoppable. He's a nice guy and he wants to make sure everybody's taken care of before he like brutally beats the hell out of you.
I don't
and
want
then
I don't want to get
apologizes for
mad.
it. Yeah, and drives you to the hospital. And like he seems to play that pretty good. Like on top of looking great for the film. His shirt is off most of the movie. Like it's a lot of work, man. A lot of work. You went out and filmed for UFC and did stuff. Like he clearly is dedicated to it here, and like I think it shows in his performance, even if his character's a little oddball, like it works, I think.
Yeah, I think he does a great job. He got ripped in a couple of films ago, Southpaw, I think. So he got his like body into that really top tier physique. Also probably on the juice, but looks
Yeah.
great. He looks the part. Also wanted to briefly talk about Daniela Melchior, who plays the nurse, the local love interest, and we have an enemies to lovers story there, very similar to the original film as well. It takes so many beats from that original film. She's fine. She's kind of just like a love interest for the film. Doesn't have a whole lot to do outside of that.
Yeah.
Like you said, a little bit few too many enemies. Weirdly,
Yeah. And it's like a 2-hour film, and it's like you could have cut 20 minutes out of this movie and blown somebody out here. Like, yeah, for the first like half of it, it's basically just nameless bikers who just keep showing up. And everybody is mega pissed at the Roadhouse all the time. Like, and the bands that are playing are all trash. They said they had some kind of music coordination with local bands to try to like weave a story through the music, and like none of it works. They all just play bad covers. Everybody is mad at the Roadhouse probably because the music's so bad. I don't know. Like I think in that way it's trying to be like that silly 80s lighthearted thing, but also like it's shot like drama and there's too many characters in it. It ends up being kind of just overstuffed. It's a little too much going on in the Roadhouse, I think.
too much
Like,
dip on your chip.
a little bit simpler maybe, yeah. So anyway, that's where I'm about out on Roadhouse. Any other thoughts on this for recommendations, Andy?
It's just a little bit too long. It's a full 2 hours. You definitely
Yeah.
could cut that down to a hot 90
Yeah.
minutes.
Yeah, definitely. Andy, would you recommend Roadhouse?
I think it's perfect for streaming. Definitely didn't deserve the theatrical release they were talking about. This would not have done well in theaters, but it's perfect streaming fare. Jake Gyllenhaal is doing his best in a poorly or kind of mediocrely produced movie. Conor McGregor is a lot of fun when he finally shows up. If you're a fan of the original, you'll enjoy it. It's kind of some dumb, mindless action. It's good for a Sunday afternoon while you're doing chores. So perfect for streaming.
Yeah, it's fine, I think. Yeah, perfect for streaming. I feel like if I had gone and seen it in theaters, the CGI would have looked worse. I mean that. I know they say it always looks better on the big screen and it's not on like compressed on your phone or whatever, but like it doesn't work. I think the great fight experiment in Roadhouse is a failure, in my opinion. A valiant effort doesn't make it. still kind of fun regardless. Yeah, you could do worse than watching Roadhouse. It's good. It's fine. If anything, one of my favorite things to compare between this Roadhouse and the old Roadhouse is Patrick Swayze's like hot bod in old Roadhouse versus like the guys who are ripped in this. Because Swayze looks like he would get eaten for breakfast by anybody in this movie. Dudes are so much bigger in 2024 than they were in 1989. Oh my God, it's crazy. Anyway,
I think he was taller though. So Swayze was taller though.
Yeah, but he didn't he didn't have Fight Club Brad Pitt to change his whole life, right? Like he had no idea what was coming in the future. Yeah, he just looked good. They were like, "Oh yeah, you got good arms, kid. Great. Yeah, we're gonna put you in Roadhouse." Yeah. Now it's like Conor McGregor looks insane. Anyway, what are we watching next week, Andy?
Next, this week, big release is Godzilla Kong: The New Empire, the fourth or fifth installment in the MonsterVerse franchise, starring Rebecca Hall, Brian Tyree Henry, and more. That's gonna be it's the other kind of Godzilla movie where it's a big kaiju film of just knocking buildings together, just lots of destruction. It's going to be a ton of fun, and we're going to see what else we might be watching. We might get a look at Late Night of the Devil or something on streaming. We'll see. And we're also looking forward to, on April 5th, Monkey Man, which is Dev Patel's action film, which he both produced, directed, and starred.
Excited for Godzilla v Kong, or Godzilla X Kong. Excuse me.
I don't know what to say for the X. Is it by? Is it times?
Godzilla,
I don't know.
Yeah, it's not versus Godzilla v Kong was easy last time we had to do this. Like, yeah, Godzilla versus Kong. Now I'm like Godzilla and Kong, Godzilla Kong, Kongzilla. I don't know. The New Empire. Anyway, excited for that. Very excited for Monkey Man. Hopefully we can see Late Night with the Devil or something like that. I don't know. We'll figure it out. But if you enjoyed the show today, if you like what we're doing here on Off Script, the best thing you can do to support us and keep us talking about movies is just subscribe to the podcast. It costs you nothing. Absolutely free. Those movies are a little pricey, but those podcasts, $0, baby. And I support local, local podcasters like us, which is important. You can subscribe to the podcast on YouTube, where we got lots of exciting things going on, individual reviews, got a couple shorts every now and again. You should go check out the YouTube page when you can. You can subscribe on audio outlets, iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, iHeartMedia, all the usual ones. We are out there. You can find us on Facebook and Instagram, Twitter, all that usual social media junk. We're just, hanging out over there. You can follow, comment, rate, review, like, subscribe, all the engagement things that they encourage you to do at the end of every one of those things. Those things, every time you listen to the end of a podcast, they tell you to go do those things. But for us, you're on Off Script. It'd mean a lot. I mean it. I really mean that. Like, it really means a lot. We appreciate you listening. Thanks for listening. God, episode 250 coming up just around the corner, Andy. We're going to have to plan something big for it. I'm sure we'll come up with something good. We always do. But that's episode 247. From all of us at Off Script, the home. That's right. From all of us at Off Script, the home of Bold Cinema, I'm Zach Lewis.
And I'm Dr. Draper.
Thanks for watching.